Thank you so much for coming. My name is Russ, Briley, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Community Relations for the Signal newspaper here in Santa Clarita Valley. On behalf of the Signal and College of the Canyons, I'd like to welcome you to the second annual Domestic Violence Summit. We at the Signal and College of the Canyons are honored and grateful to be part of this event. The SCV Domestic Violence Center and the Coalition for Harmony in Ventura County have worked very hard to put this event together. And we give a nice round of applause to Caroline Pritchett Sutton and Linda Davies. Thank you. Personally, this event hits home with me as I was a victim of domestic violence when I was a very small child to my early teenage years. I do not remember much of anything growing up from my childhood, except the incidents of physical, mental, and sexual abuse. Most people, when you ask them what they did when they were kids or what their past was, they'll tell you, well, I remember going to the beach with my parents, and we were going to Disneyland for the first time. I remember my parents saw the first hit when I was playing Little League. What I remember when I was about 5 years old, coming in from playing, saw a glass, what I thought was water on the counter. I took it and drank it. It was vodka. My father, instead of showing remorse, yelled at me for wasting his vodka. When my sister was 12, my older sister, she disappeared from the household. Apparently she went to move in with my grandparents. I was never told. Just one day she was gone. I remember my mom, after a fight with my dad where she broke a milk bottle, remember those milk bottles, over his head, took me out of the house, and we fled because of domestic violence. We moved into an apartment when I was 6 or 7 years old, and my mom would leave at night saying she'd be right back. Sometimes she'd get back to the early morning. I never knew why or where she was. I remember when she remarried my stepfather, and domestic violence took a big step upward. On Saturdays, my mom would drop me off at the local movie theaters right when the first movie started, and would pick me up when the last movie ended at night, if she remembered. They got to know me pretty well at the movie theater. They knew my phone number, so that pretty much about every other weekend they'd be calling my mom to come pick me up. On Sundays, I locked myself in my room. I'd pray that no one would come in and hit me or yell at me. It was very rare that did not happen. After that, on weekends, we started going to a little cabin in the desert where my grandparents had homesteaded and my father had homesteaded and some friends. We were using the friend's cabin on weekends. My mom at that point had taken up drinking pretty heavily with my stepfather. They used it to basically drink from Friday night till Sunday when we left. My only saving grace was every so often on a Sunday, my grandparents would come visit and stay at their cabin. I'd run over there as fast as I could, but I remember there being many times on Sunday I'd put my little stool out on Pear Blossom Highway and look for that green LeSabre. When they came, I was the happiest kid in the world. When they didn't come, I was probably the saddest kid in the world. We stopped going to the desert. I remember this incident very, very well when we were coming home on the freeway and my mom, for some reason, I still don't know why, tried to jump out of the car and kill herself. She didn't succeed. And I don't know why she tried to do it, but that was the last time we went to the desert. The domestic violence increased, and my mom and I were verbally attacked as well as physically on a daily basis. He then moved on to sexual abuse of me on a few occasions where he came into my room when he thought I was asleep, and I wasn't, but all I could do was just freeze. One night, when my mom had a friend over, they had both passed out from drinking. My stepfather decided to rape my mom's friend on the living room floor. Sorry. These types of events happen regularly to a point where Mom got very ill. They rushed her to the hospital, and she had a severe bleeding ulcer. They told her if she drank anymore, she would die. She made it about 6 months sober, and she passed out, started moaning, and we knew that there was an issue. However, my stepfather, because he was drunk, did not want to he did not want to have the ambulance come when he was drunk, because he was embarrassed. So he physically held me from calling 911. When I was able to do it, finally I just snuck in and did it. They got there and she was gone. My saving grace came when my sister, who moved out, and I saw her a few times after she moved out, after I figured out where she went, was raising 2 kids of her own. She said, "There's no way you're staying there." She came and got me. That was my saving grace. So I thought this whole domestic violence thing was over, but I got one more kick in the stomach. They took me I was 6 weeks into my junior year in high school. I went to Taft High School. They took me to Taft High School in Woodland Hills. I met with the counselor, vice principal at the time, and him not knowing my past, just knowing that, my mom had passed away. His first words out of his mouth is, "You need to suck it up because there's kids here with a lot worse problems than you have." So that was my introduction into Taft High School in Woodland Hills. So, needless to say, things got better, living with my sister, and everything after that was great. I'm not telling you this so you feel sorry for me, and please don't, because I'm really blessed. I have a wonderful wife of almost 36 years. I have 3 great children and the 2 best grandchildren on this planet. I've had a great career, and I never thought I would be part owner of a newspaper in the community where I've lived for 30 plus years. I'm a lucky person. However, my life has not been without demons, and I love my family for putting up with those and sticking with me. I know each of you out there have had similar stories or worked with people who have had, and I'm sure a lot more worse stories than mine. I'm hoping that this summit will give all of you valuable information you need to help prevent or help people who are going through domestic violence abuse. I have spoke in the past on about my life, but not in this much detail. I apologize if I offend anybody, but I think it's important to know that domestic violence is an epidemic, and we need to reveal what goes on behind closed doors in order to fix it. Thank you for listening to me.